Have you ever noticed how every story starts in the middle of another story? People who study stories and other forms of literature have a fancy name for this that's an ancient, ancient name, in medias res, in the middle of things. Greek epics start in the middle of things. Homer's ancient epic, the Iliad, begins, Achilles' wrath to Greece, the direful spring of woes unnumbered, heavenly goddess, sing. That wrath which hurled to Plato's gloomy reign the souls of mighty chiefs untimely slain. We begin, and already the big action of the story is described as something that's happened. We're in the middle of things. Clearly a whole lot has happened when Homer starts singing this amazing poem. Or how about the beginning in a biblical sense, the big capital B. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. It feels like an absolute beginning because of the way our culture has understood this mythical language, this story. But the Hebrew begins with something a lot more ambiguous than an absolute beginning. And it can't really be translated very well into English. And so we have God and we have creation. But when did God create? Well, it was in the beginning of God creating that God created, and it's this circular thing that really doesn't fit on a nice, neat timeline. But it's in the middle of the beginning that the beginning begins. It doesn't give us anything absolute. From the Universalist side of our Unitarian Universalist history, there's a story that is perhaps less majestic than a Greek epic or the creation story in Genesis. But nonetheless, it's a compelling story of beginnings. It's the story of John Murray and Potter's Church. And I'm sure several of you in this room, if not all of you, have at least some familiarity with that story. Murray was born in England in 1741, and his religious thinking moved from the Calvinism of his upbringing to Methodism, and then the Methodists kicked him out because he discovered this theological idea called Universalism. The idea that God isn't going to damn people to hell the way he had been taught all his life. And the man from whom he learned Universalism encouraged him to become a preacher. And he started preaching. But then things happened that no one would have expected that changed things. Murray's son died as an infant. Murray's wife died. And soon after that, 4 of his siblings died. And if that wasn't bad enough, then he was thrown in debtor's prison. One of his brothers-in-law bailed him out, took care of his debt, and allowed him to begin his life again. And in 1770, he decided that he just wanted to pass into the oblivion of time by going to America. He was not coming here to make his fortune and a great name. He was coming here to escape, to get away from all of that horrible stuff that was so heavy on his life. The ship on which Murray was traveling became grounded on a sandbar off of New Jersey, near Good Luck Point. The captain sent Murray ashore to look for provisions and supplies. And so while he was gathering these supplies, he runs into Thomas Potter. Thomas Potter had built a chapel on his land, and he was looking for itinerant preachers to come along and fill that pulpit and preach to him and his friends and people in the area. And, you know, this was a kind of world where you could just do that, evidently.